Apple-bottom jeans, boots with a fur. The whole club was looking at her. She hit the floor, the next thing you know, Shawty got low, 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 low.
Let's get this mother crunk!
Baggy sweatpants, Reeboks with us.
Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome in once again. Today we're going to be taking a look at my newest design offering called the Scaphoid, and my newest collaboration, partnership with Tuya knife. And I could not be more excited. Now this is going to be a step up, a level up from the Caledon, which you guys know was a very, very big success earlier in this year. And tomorrow I'm releasing the new run of Caledons, the V2. And I'm excited about that, of course, because there's a lot of really, really great options this time around. But the Scaphoid is one that I have been eagerly anticipating. And I hadn't told a lot of people about this early on. I waited till I knew it was definitely in production and almost done before I even breathed a word about it. Now, the reason why this is so special is while the Caledon is based rather loosely on my Exorcist custom fixed blade model, the Scaphoid here is much more of a direct homage to my Scaphoid fixed blade model, because you can see that in the blade and even in most of the shape of the handle as well. So I'm going to lay this down and see if I can slip in a few pictures here of my custom Scaphoids that I make. And you'll see the obvious things that keep this similar. And this was a big deal for me to get into a folder, because one of the reasons so many people have enjoyed the Scaphoid model is the fact that it's very, very slim and very easy to carry for a tactical fixed blade. And the way I do my customs is all of my sheaths are leather and they're horizontal mounted, so that you don't need anything more than an untucked t-shirt to conceal them. They're not hanging down lengthwise, like blade down your leg or anything like that. So I wanted to make something that would be so slim that it would be right in line with your belt, and your belt would most likely be even wider than the whole knife and the sheath. So that was the goal for that when I made that. So I wanted to keep the same theme when making the folder. So I wanted to keep it nice and narrow. So on the height, you're looking at a blade height of 0.93 inches, so less than an inch. And the whole thing folded at the widest point, which is where this palm swell is, to the back spacer, not including the flipper tab. You're looking at only 1.1 inches. So basically the width of a Glock 19 slide is going to be the total height of this knife. So it takes up very little room in the pocket. Once it's folded up, it is narrow, and it's actually pretty slim as well, being well under a half an inch in total thickness. So the whole thing here is these are going to be dropping live on my website at skeltoncustoms.com on December 16th at 6 p.m. Eastern. Now you'll also be able to pick this up from tuyanifeus.com on the same day and time as well. And we are both coordinating to do a special drop introductory price. It will only be for launch day, period. That one day, December 16th, is the only time you will get this. And it's an intro price, meaning once that day is done and that price is expired, it will go back to its regular price. So on that day, on launch day, we are going to take $30 flat off the top. So you're going to get the knife. They're going to be selling for $300. So you're going to get it for $270 flat. And I think that's a really, really good deal. It was something that I felt was very, very important. And I'm going to do the same thing for the Caladan V2s, because there are going to be a lot of people that really were excited and waiting to get it. And I want to make sure everybody gets the best deal possible. Again, that is for launch day only for each. The Caladan V2s are going to be launching December 16th at 6 p.m. Eastern. And the Scaphoid, is going to be December 20th at 6 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so just like the Caladan, this is also made by Tuya Knife. I'm really, really excited about partnering with Tuya once again, because as you can see, their action, the detent, everything is dead on perfect. The fit and finish of everything is amazing. And I'm able to get materials like S90V instead of being forced into M390. Now, that's not to say that I don't like M390 or that I won't choose M390 for something in the future. I just like having the options to not have the same steel that everybody else does. Now, as you can see, focus was heavy on the ergonomics again, just like on the Caladan. So you've got a mostly straight back design to the frame, and then it drops down here at the rear the same way I do on the custom fixed blade. There is a nice finger choil here. It feels really good without being ridiculously overcut. And then you've got the palm swell here where it comes back in for your ring finger. And I wanted to add this little bit right here for your pinky. So that's also comfortable. It's not just a straight frame sitting up against the meat of your pinky. So you lock right into it, but you're not being forced into any one position. Wanted to make it as comfortable as possible. Also, like the Caladan, I wanted to incorporate a lanyard opening into this quarter-length backspacer, because I wanted to avoid putting big slots or big holes all the way through the knife where it shows on really either side, but especially on the presentation side. And directly from the Caladan will be the pocket clip, because so many people commented how much they loved this pocket clip with its contouring that completely eliminates any hot spots in the hands. I wanted to make sure we did it again, and it looks really good on this frame as well. Now, I love frame locks, but one of the things I'm not a big fan of with frame locks is in 90% of them, they're completely blank on the lock side. If there's nice inlays on the front side, you generally do not get them on the lock side. And I don't like having that dual personality on frame locks. I wanted to match up the look to the front and the back. So while on the presentation side, you have 3 contoured carbon fiber inlays, on the back, you're going to have 1 large contoured carbon fiber inlay. And keep in mind, this is the only option these are going to be available in, at least for this first run. If these are wildly popular, I will go back to the drawing board and do another variation and do different materials. But for right now, for this entire run, and I have them all, they're going to be in the bead blasted titanium with standard 2x2 twill carbon fiber. Whew, love how that feels. Now, for those that are wondering why I choose to use S90V so often, I do so because of its incredible wear resistance. It's got an ability to hold an edge for a good long time. It's got very high corrosion resistance, and it's not too terribly difficult to resharpen yourself. So it's kind of the best of every world when it comes to a good, high-quality stainless steel. And so far, I've gotten a lot of feedback on the original variants of the Caladan, and everybody loves that ridiculously thin edge that the S90 is able to take. Another great thing about S90 is you're not really limited on your blade finishes. So if I had decided at some point I wanted to do a mirror polish on any of these, it can be done. And by the way, if you're sending any of my knives out to, oops, that wasn't very smart. I'm going to start bleeding from that in a minute. Anyway, if you're going to send any of my knives out for modification from a customizer and you say that you want the blades mirror polished, that can be done. Now for this version, went with the hand rub satin on the flats and the belt satin for all of the bevels. So you've got the hollow primary and you have a flat tip grind. So that means very, very, very slicey main bevel and a good supported strong tip because of the flat grind up there. And this mini swedge that only comes up from the tip is replicating a couple of custom scaphoids that I made. I only made a few of them a couple of years ago that way. Most of my scaphoids, I would start my swedges all the way back here and then bring it all the way down to the tip. But on a couple, I think it was 2, it may have been 3, but I think it was 2, I only did it right at the tip just to make it different. One of them, I believe, I had done an asymmetric grind. So on one side, I did a duplex grind, which was a flat at one angle, then a flat for the tip at another angle. So it was more or less the look of a compound grind. And then on one side, I did my standard grind. So I had done the swedge all the way back to here on one side. And on the other side, I had done the little tip swedge. So that's where that one came from. And it's funny that Tuya chose that one because I gave them options and I sent them images of a lot of the scaphoids that I had made to show my grinds and to show the shape of everything and the idea that I was going for and to highlight the fact that I wanted to do my Devil's Moon crescent around the pivot. And out of all the images I gave them, they chose the blade grind from only 1 or 2 images that had that little, I guess, micro top swedge, I guess we could call it. I want to be very clear, these are in stock for a live drop. These are not a pre-order. And I'm sure I've already written that on the screen somewhere when I edited this video, but I think that's very important to bring up. And again, that's not to say I will never do pre-orders in the future. I think I will be on one model coming out pretty soon. That will most likely be the tibia folder. And at that point, I might do a pre-order on that. But this is a live drop. So when you order and pay your money, the knives will be, the orders will be fulfilled immediately. I'll be wrapping up the knife and shipping it out that day or the next day, depending on what time of day you order. So anyway, there is your look at my new scaphoid. Let me give you some tight shots here so that you can get a good idea of what your $299 is getting you. Love the grinds on this. So perfectly done. And before anybody says, why isn't there a sharpening notch? Because it doesn't need a sharpening notch. If you know how to resharpen your knives, or you have a knife sharpener that is skilled, you're not going to have any issues whatsoever. There's the inlays. There's the nice palm swell on that convex curvature. There's your wraparound quarter length back spacer with the lanyard opening hidden in the back. You are going to be getting steel on steel lockup. That is a steel insert, and you do have a lock bar over travel on there as well, so you can't overextend the lock bar. The blade tucks very, very nicely into the frame. It's mostly into the frame. I didn't want to go 100% into the frame. I wanted it to be out just a little tiny bit. Everything is beautifully done. Of course, it's perfectly centered. Here's the lockup you should be expecting. Nice and early, but not tragically early. Flat face pivot. T8 on the back side. This is a captive pivot, by the way. So no matter how you go to tighten or loosen or adjust the pivot, this side will not spin. And that is all she wrote, everybody. Just want to give you a good long look at the Scaphoid and make sure that you were aware that it was coming and that I now finally have my new website up and running. I'm so very proud of that. My good buddy Aaron is actually the one that built it for me. He has done that for a long time. And yes, while it may not be fancy, that was the whole point. We wanted to go with something simple, easy to navigate, nothing that was ridiculously crazy. So thank you, Aaron, so much for all your hard work on that. And that's all she wrote, guys. Thank you for joining me as always, and I'll see you on the next video. I was just reminded of something as I scrolled through Instagram. Instagram is a lot of guys, not a lot, a couple of guys are doing this because they were inspired by videos that they've seen on YouTube, where apparently people are out there spine whacking folders for some reason. And I wanted to demonstrate to you guys that as you would expect, you're not going to have any worries or any issues whatsoever from the knives that I am having produced. Folks, stop spine whacking folders. That's not a test, okay? When a factory is testing the lock strength, they are setting up the handle into a jig so that it's not applying pressure to the lock, and they are pulling down on the blade with weight. They're not subjecting it to rapid force, okay? That's not good for any knife. It's a folding knife. It's not a fixed blade. This is testing nothing for the real world. It's great to be able to say, yes, I'm doing something so asinine that my folder can actually handle it, that the lockup is going to remain strong and it's not going to slip. Sure, that's great. And that could be said for many things attributed to the manufacturing or building of an overbuilt folder. There's no reason to have a 1/4 inch thick blade on any folding knife, but they're going above and beyond to make it as strong and crazy and ridiculous as they can. So there's always room for that. However, if you are relying on spine whacking it as a test to see if the knife is good or the lock is going to fail, you're an idiot. Please stop doing that. Again, you're not using a folding knife for fixed blade things. And the shock that is put through the entire knife as you're spine whacking can actually make the pivot hole out of round, where the pivot can start allowing the blade to move back and forth a little bit, which can actually develop lock rock. And again, you're sending shock through the entire knife, and it is possible for the lock to walk, even though the lock wasn't going to fail in any other way, because you're setting the shock and vibration through the entire knife that way. That's why you're feeling it in your hand. No matter how you're holding it, you're feeling every time you bang it in your hand because you're sending shock through it. So stop doing that stupid shit. Anyway, just had to say that.